De Couture continua com a palavra. E na continuação da entrevista concedida à repórter Anaíssa, The Natural fala das 3 batalhas que teve contra Vitor Belfort e revela que a luta mais dura da carreira foi contra o brasileiro Pedro Rizzo.
Randy, The Natural Couture.
That guy is my hero.
When did the nickname The Natural appear?
It actually appeared after the first Vitor Belfort fight.
It was a fight that, in Dana White's words,
Originally, he was brought in to lose to Vitor Belfort.
they brought you to lose, and then you won. How does that feel?
Well, that was the first of many of those situations for me in my career. I think I've been the underdog lots of times and been put in fights where I was expected to lose. I was expected to be unsuccessful, and managed one way or another to find ways to win those fights. So I think that kind of set the tempo and the stage for me as a fighter in my career, and that's something that I've embraced. I've enjoyed the underdog role, and you know, I think with my age, everybody's kind of expecting that now, and you know, that's something that seems to suit me well.
And Vitor was 14 years younger and the phenom.
Yeah, I mean, he definitely was the phenom at that time, and you know, pretty much annihilated every single person that he'd been in there with. I was supposed to be the next.
O Randy Couture, para mim, ele significa e simboliza não só um atleta que impactou gerações com seus valores dentro e fora do ringue. Eu tenho uma grande admiração por ele, somos amigos, lutamos juntos, damos muita risada juntos.
I developed the fondness for Vitor the first time we fought, because I saw this young kid that you know, had a lot of fire and a lot of potential, and he had a very kind of sweet way about him, and so we'd talked on several other occasions, had been on other cards and at the same time, and kind of developed a friendship, and then obviously we had to fight each other again. An interesting situation with the situation with his sister kind of taking on a life of its own outside of the ring, and then the outcome of the fight was interesting too. I ended up getting cut across my eyelid in the first 25 seconds of the fight, and the fight had to be stopped, so it was all kind of a very unique situation, and that's what fostered the rematch, you know, some 9 months later. You know, and the outcome with Vitor's sister was very tragic, and you know, you feel for somebody in that situation to have to go out with that burden on their back and compete. I mean, he was wearing T-shirts with Priscilla on them, and it was tough.
From that moment on, the wrestler community learned how to defend themselves from the jiu-jitsu skills, and a new era has started. Do you agree with this?
Well, I think that there was a transition going on at that period. People were learning about jiu-jitsu, they were learning the positions, they were learning the different submission holds and how to stay out of them, how to effectively protect themselves. I think Hoist started something, you know, started a movement and caught a lot of people and created these questions of like, okay, well, how do we deal with that? You know, how do we stay out of that? And I was one of the lucky ones that came in at a time where the cross-training was going on, and we were becoming better athletes, better fighters, and learning jiu-jitsu was part of that. And I think that's something that the sport of MMA fostered. It changed martial arts. What Hoist did revolutionized martial arts.
And also you.
Yeah, I'm part of that revolution for sure.
Your history with Brazilian fighters, it's not only with Vitor Belfort. In 2001, you returned to the UFC and did a memorable fight against Pedro Rizzo. Was that the most difficult and hard fight in your life?
That is definitely the toughest fight I have been in to date. And I've been beat by Chuck. I've had a lot of tough fights, but that was the hardest fight that I've ever been in. Pedro was one of the toughest opponents I've ever faced, and it was a 5-round brawl, back and forth. He was very tough. And, you know, I learned some valuable lessons in that fight. He taught me a little bit about kicking that I'd not experienced before, and knew I didn't want to experience again. I learned my lessons. I went back to the drawing board, learned some new tactics and some new technique that made me much more effective in the second fight.
The Brazilian fighters, who do you like, who do you admire, and why?
Well, you know, obviously competing against Vitor 3 times and getting to know him, he's been one of my favorite Brazilian fighters for a long, long time. Lyoto has an incredible style that nobody else seems to be able to figure out at this point. Anderson is about as dynamic a fighter as I've ever seen. He's long, he's rangy, he's got great ground skills, he's got laser-sighted Muay Thai skills. He's every time he steps out there, we're all on the edge of our seat to see what's going to happen and how it's going to go. So, you know, there's a lot of exciting fighters coming from this country.
How do you see this new UFC?
Well, again, I think they're expanding globally. You know, we're strong in the UK now. We're having our first show in Germany here in June. I think you're going to continue to see that trend and see shows popping up not just in the US or Canada, but all over the world. I would love to see them come back here to Brazil. I think it's been a long time since they've been here, and obviously there's a huge fan base here, and there's a lot of other places to see the brand of the UFC expand.
Maybe you could fight here in Brazil.
Yeah, that could happen.